just trying to remember some of my week. It's a difficult day for me today, and I'll go into that in a little bit. I think just continuing from when I spoke last time, I think I was talking about putting in a lot of sort of work into my writing project, a novel I was working on, and it feels like this past week has been a little bit of a continuation of that. I'm still trying to find my mental equilibrium. So I think with the writing last week, it really taxed my mind, and I was trying to recover. And what's happened this week, I've kind of taxed myself with reading. Almost a week ago, I never really buy books. I usually go to the library, but there was an author that I quite like, and their book just released, so I ended up buying that, and I read it in a really short space of time, probably in like 3 days, which is a complete contrast with me for reading. Sometimes it can take, often more than a month, let's say, to sometimes read a book. A lot of that's probably to do with not being fully connected with the story, but reading for me in general is kind of, it's still been lots of ups and downs, but lots of struggles. And I think with reading this particular book, I was able to sort of disengage my sort of writing eyes a little bit. So I wasn't reading to learn the craft, and so often in the past, maybe I don't know how long for, maybe a long time, when I've read, I've always tried to read, how the grammar and how maybe the author structured a sentence a little bit. And I wouldn't go into complete depth because I'd never finish a book, but there'd be part of me doing that. So the reading process would be quite intense, where it'd be generally slow and grueling almost. And I think with this book, maybe partly because of how I'm feeling mentally and my energy, I was able to let go of that. I think maybe partly because of my health, and I know that the aspirations I had for writing are pretty much completely different, let's put it in a nice way, than they once were. So before, everything was geared towards improving the craft of writing, and now a lot of stuff's just been dropped or let go of, or fallen away involuntarily. And so after reading that book, there was a I'm going to struggle with my words today. Maybe there was a bit of, I don't know if elation's the right word, finding it hard to connect words with emotions at the moment. Let's go with elation. Let's live life on the edge. Let's go with a bit of elation of obviously, finishing a book in that sort of time. And I think because I was so connected with the story, and that helped propel the reading, and it wasn't a stressful, maybe there was a little bit of stress in the reading, because when I noticed I was reading for longer periods. I wanted to almost maintain that a little bit. And so after reading that book, I was kind of thinking, especially with the new sort of disengaging from reading, almost like a writer. There's a book called that as well, Reading Like a Writer, I think. I kind of wanted to see if I could continue that momentum of reading another book in a short space of time. It wasn't really a set goal, but I was kind of maybe a bit invigorated with, sort of reading to try to enjoy versus reading to enjoy and to learn, which can bring its own stress and pressure. So I ended up getting a book from the library on, so let's get our days. Today is Thursday today, and I got this book Monday, I think, and the book I got was it was a new release book from the library. So for their often new releases, they have what's called a fastback, which means I think that you only get a week to read it, because they're trying to make sure that everyone has sort of equal access to the books, and nobody, more people can read the book in a certain window. And I was super confident as well. I was thinking, yeah, I'll read that in a week. And it was a bit of a longer book than the previous book I'd read in a short space of time. But part of me was feeling maybe a bit confident and a bit, I just read a book in 3 days, and I'm sure I can do this one as well. And I think I've had this happen before, maybe a long months ago, where I've gotten a fastback book and almost pretty much hit the same problem, but now it's just a lot more severe. So I started reading this book, and maybe there was definitely tension and stress there, because I was reading to finish it in a week versus reading to enjoy it without a deadline, and I didn't account for how much pressure and stress that week deadline gave me. When I got the book, I thought it was a healthy target and goal, but it turns out my mind just crumbled almost with reading. I was kind of reading sort of fast, knowing that I've got to read these certain amount of pages by today. I kind of worked out how many pages I need to read each day to make it for me to be able to finish the book before I return it, and it can't be renewed. I'd have to kind of sort of take it back and renew it, and I didn't really want to do that. And it's surprising how much a profound effect that's had on me. I don't think it's just that what I've just talked about. I think there's other, talk about the writing last week, so I was already sort of on edge and already maybe a bit battered and beat up from that, and because I had a good experience with a book that I read in a short space of time. I don't know if I misread the signals for that, but strange. I'm not sure if I'm being hard on myself with this stuff, but it's that whole thing about perspective again. But it's just it's a bit disheartening to see the effect it's had on me, with that pressure and stress, where I've kind of given up on the book now because I didn't want to try to forge ahead. Part of me wanted to, part of me thought I need to take care of my health, because it's really, you know, the first couple of days this week I just really tried to read a lot of it and meet those sort of mini targets I had each day of the page count, and yeah, it just really immediately added a lot of stress. And then there was the sort of disheartening of, you know, failing to read it in that week and all of that stuff that comes with it. I'm trying not to trying not to make things worse by going down that avenue of narrative of but yeah, it does feel a little bit like I've kind of fallen down a bit, some feeling of that something's collapsed, and I'm not quite at rock bottom, but I'm at a place of just don't have the effort to really get up again in some ways. So I think things like with my food and housework stuff, I think in every area perhaps I've been taxing myself and adding stress. So the reading's an example, the writing is an example of that, and I think with the cleaning and things I've really done my best to try and stay on top of it, but it's come with a toll, a tax on my mind to do that. For example, you know, my place has never been cleaner consistently since I've moved, you know, since I've been here for like a couple of years, coming up to so like the last 2 weeks I've every few days I've kind of tried to wipe the floors down, and maybe done it a bit OTT, but so I think in every area I've just maxed out a little bit with food. Sometimes I've tried to eat as healthy as I can, and I think I'm just completely drained, and I just get a sense of just dropping everything. So I'm kind of glad I dropped the book in a sense, just and just maybe have some days to try and reset and clear the decks and slowly sort of, I was going to say slowly build myself up, but I feel like just for taking care of myself, that building naturally happens, I think, in the doing of stuff. So for example, I won't be pushing myself to do something that I feel like I'm not really in the mood to do, like with the reading. There's times when I was tired and I was just reading to meet that deadline, and it was just not enjoyable as much, and I think I was enjoying perhaps the potential of achieving that goal, but the doing of it just really cost me a lot in a sense, and it's just I think the disheartening thing comes in is just having to, maybe it's not starting from scratch, but it feels like I've just got to drop everything again, and it just feels like I was building myself up a little bit with doing certain things like the cleaning or a bit, the writing. I pushed myself with that, but with these sort of the reading and writing, it didn't feel like it's a huge push really. Maybe it's not to compare myself to normalcy, but it doesn't feel like I was taxing myself that much in theory, but and it's just, I guess, disheartening comes in of just it's I can't even push myself a little bit. It just so. Yeah, it's almost like if I was driving a car and I've had to drive it at sort of 20 miles an hour constantly. That's all I could manage, and then the moment I kind of, put the windows down and go up to 40 miles an hour and enjoy sort of, a bit more of a, just things collapsed. And so last night I went to bed stupidly late. I was just feeling maybe a bit sorry for myself, or just feeling in a lot of pain already, and so I'm kind of paying for that today a little bit. Maybe that's being too hard on myself as well. Maybe it's okay, because it's like there's just some reaction, I guess, to what's been going on. And I think with all this strain and pressure, it's just having even more of an effect on the other symptoms like memory and brain fog and making decisions. So sometimes when it feels like you've taken a step back or you've fallen, and it's just, and I've gone through that so many times. It just can feel like now it's not so easy just to bounce back in a day or two. It feels like I have to kind of ride this out a little bit and just really go back to basics to try and take care of myself, or just manage each moment. So that's what I'm going to try and do today, really. It's still, I think it's just coming up to lunchtime, but I'm just going to try and not, be conscious of not pushing myself for anything today. Just if I do choose like an activity that I may not be in the mood for, just maybe I could, be a bit more mindful of, okay, let's just listen to that for 2 minutes or a minute. So it drastically minimizes any more stress and pressure, and of course I can make the call of if I really don't feel like I can do that, then even to watch like a kind of spiritual video, mindfulness video, which I feel like may be a good thing for me to do, but at the same time it requires some energy to process and to absorb and to watch, so that can be a bit tough. But maybe I just need to just try and be connected with my mind and body, how I'm feeling, and just take things very, very slowly. I think that's a good word to use, just to slow everything down. Before I was kind of trying to expand and move faster, and maybe not in a completely conscious way, like that was my detailed goal to do all that stuff, but it just kind of got in that direction, and now I've just realised all of that toll of the last couple of weeks or so. It's forced me now just to completely slow down. So quite often that means that I've no idea how the rest of my day is going to go, because in this kind of state, it's literally just trying to manage the next 5 minutes. I think that's all. The next few minutes. So, because I'm feeling really tired and strained, I'll try and minimize. I was tempted to pick up that book again, and not to finish it off in the remaining days, but just to try and enjoy a little bit of reading. But maybe I should like return this, and just when I'm ready to get a book where it's got the regular sort of reading times. I think it's like 3 weeks or a month, and often you can renew it several times, because they're not that popular books, so it's not usually a hold on it or anything. But maybe I just need to give reading some space from reading for a few days, or at least for today. Maybe just try and get through today. I think that's the main thing, to try and not add any more stress and pressure, to try and do the opposite of that. Try and like whether it's watch ASMR or something, where that's always quite a slow sort of energy from those videos, and maybe I can consciously do that. Part of me is still in a lot of pain where I still want to, just while I remember it, like I've, with this pain, I've always, just part of me is wanting to binge on food. It's so easy. It's still there a little bit, that recklessness, energy. It's probably just energy that's frustrated or angry, that wants to react. And thankfully, last night I wanted to sort of binge on something, and I bought these hummus crisps just to try. And I think they're made out of chickpea flour, so they're not like, they're fairly sort of, in regards to snack food, they're fairly healthy in that regard. So I don't have any sort of other crisps or anything in my place, so there's nothing. That's the only thing I could binge on last night at like midnight. So it's kind of grateful in a way where I was able to do, to kind of soothe myself a little bit, but there was sort of a healthier snack. And I did think for a moment whether I should buy that more often if the times I want to do that, but I don't know if that's a good idea either, but maybe that's for another time. There's lots of wind and rain. It's hopefully my anxiety will be okay with it. I mentioned before, with the especially windy weather, it can really I feel like it's one of these days where I'm probably going to listen, have my headphones on quite a lot. Maybe that will help as well. Just some insulation in some respects. So I think I need to try and cook today as well, which I'm gonna maybe see how I feel later to see if I've got the energy to do that. Yes, one thought I had recently is that, again, I feel like my words are going to fail me to try and express myself, but yeah, it just feels like until, maybe it's a bit of a dark thought, until there's a serious illness, or if the serious illness develops in me, that's the only time when, I'll probably get certain types of help, maybe, because it's reached a severe stage. But I feel like in this window of limbo where I've been diagnosed with depression, and that's such a flexible thing where it's such a wide spectrum in depression, so it feels like you can just get lost in that, because it's like a sort of ocean of depression and lots of people are in it, or it's such a wide berth. And I think that's one thing I tried to communicate to my doctor the other time I had an appointment, was that I don't want to just get lost, or just assume that my health is just always going to be that. I want to make sure that as things are seemingly heading that way or getting more severe, that it's not just you don't get blinded by that label. Well, it's just depression, isn't it? It's when really it might be something else that's now developed, and it's like so many symptoms, I guess, overlap with mental health. So many do. So I want to make sure that's one thing. But it feels like that nothing will really happen, to be honest, until it feels like I'm already lost in that, that label. But I guess I try not to be too negative about that. I'm seeing my doctor. I need to call the surgery today actually to make an appointment. I'm seeing my doctor, roughly once a month at the moment. So, and I'm going to try my best to speak up for myself and tell them, okay, this feels like it's getting worse, or that, and I may also say to them as well that sometimes it's hard for me to know how much it's getting worse, because it's like a very steadiness to it, and So I'm hoping that the month-to-month appointments, you know, be more noticeable if something a lot more severe than it was, at least to them than to me, because of the gradual sort of gradient it's seemingly heading in at the moment. So yeah, I guess the priority for me right now is just, I guess, the real basic stuff for my health, like sleep and food, and it felt like for the last couple of weeks I was sort of living a bit more life with writing goals I had, you know, the documents I submitted and the novel I completed, and same with reading. I wanted to almost build and expand that and really get into reading, but then it just, I kind of just, you know, went off the rails in some ways mentally, and now I've got to kind of put all my energy into, you know, sleep and just getting myself through the day, in that kind of stuff. And it's just it just feels, that's what feels disheartening, where I was trying to kind of build on something a little bit, and then there's the basic stuff of, you know, showering, food and sleep and just managing emotions, and it feels like I was trying to break out of that to kind of do other stuff as well, but then it wasn't well enough, and I have to come back to the almost like base camp again. And you know, it feels like that's my life right now, just to try and take care of those things versus being creative and putting energy into that. And it feels like I just haven't been coping with doing that these past couple of weeks. And so I'm trying to think myself some good activities to do today. Maybe watch some ASMR would be useful. I haven't really watched much at all in a while, in a number of weeks. Maybe potentially play some poker if it doesn't become too stressful. Sometimes if I enter in like a free tournament, I play on a website where like they give you free chips each day, so all of it's kind of free. But sometimes I still get anxious if I enter in a tournament where I've paid 20,000 chips or something. I know I've saved up my daily chip count, or I've won more chips, and then naturally part of you engages in want to win that tournament, will become nervous when you're in a tight hand or all of that stuff. And so I need to just be a bit careful of the balance of an activity, whether it's the enjoyment of it, but also the stress, how much stress it can put on me. So maybe watching, I haven't really done this a lot because of the reading, I guess, watching some stuff on Netflix. Maybe I've really not watched a whole lot for a while, so I think probably the last time I watched stuff was that hibernation day. I don't know if I may have talked about it in my last vlog, I think, because I was having a difficult time then. Probably just post writing stuff. Seems like it's getting really dark now with the rain clouds. I can see my image like it's almost coming to the evening time, but no, it's just super dark. So maybe ASMR. I've got some stuff downloaded from Netflix I can watch. Maybe that's enough. Maybe a potential video from Eckhart, which I may try and watch. And I think the main thing maybe is just to try and manage my food. Like I've got for lunch, I've got these got some like falafel stuff I can have in a sort of sandwich. I just had like a big bowl of porridge, which I struggled to have. Actually, it was a bit too much, but kind of had that for this morning. And then in the evening, I kind of need to make something. I've got some tofu and some frozen peas and stuff. I can make like a sort of dry, sort sort of curry with that maybe. But yeah, if I just see if I have the energy, maybe I can think about cooking in the early afternoon, so I'm not in a position where it's evening time and I'm a bit hungry. And I think this is what happened yesterday, yeah, where I kind of needed to cook it then, and then it got to the evening, I just ended up having sort of like beans on toast for dinner sort of thing. So maybe, yeah, it's good to try and do things that work for me. Maybe start cooking in the early afternoon, perhaps. That'll be good. And maybe I can download a show I've seen before, something so I can put on in the background. I often find that comforting, and it helps sometimes when I'm doing a task that's difficult. And often it's nice I'm putting on something I've kind of seen or familiar with, so I don't have to fully concentrate on it when I'm cooking, but it's there when I can sort of dip into it. So maybe I'll try and download something for this afternoon to yeah, I don't know if there's lots of things I'm just missing out here. As often is the case, there's some clarity before recording, and then I think earlier this morning, before I had some breakfast, there was some kind of things I thought, it should be good to try and do a vlog today. Not sure if I'll be able to go out today to upload this, but I won't put any pressure on myself for that. I think in my old days I used to be really good at that, just to kind of, maybe there's a bit more energy in me and a bit more determination, but it feels like now it's just like I don't mind as much now if this is uploaded sort of several days after it was recorded, or I just don't really have the energy to worry about that as much, really. Just for anything else that would be good for me to do today, or maybe that's enough, just as a few suggestions for myself to take it easy and just sort of try and rest my mind and not create any more stress. Yeah.